Good evening. Welcome to In Your District. My name is Chris Miller. I'm the newly appointed counselor for District 6. And with me this evening is the newly appointed city manager, Bill Heim. And before I turn the show over to Bill to ask him some questions and let him speak for himself about what he's looking forward to, I just want to give a little bit of background on myself since I'm new to City Council. I was appointed by City Council due to the unfortunate death of Council President Jeff Waltman, who passed away suddenly. He was a good friend of mine and also a neighbor. The position that he held as Council President was taken by Johanny Cepeda Freitas, who represented District 6. And after District 6 became available, Council interviewed 3 people who applied for the position. And of the 3, I was chosen. So it's new to me. I've been in the job for about a month. It's been a great learning experience. A little bit of my background: I've lived in Reading for about 41 years, although I wasn't born here. And the first time that I actually even heard about the city of Reading was when I was growing up in the Lehigh Valley. I was actually involved with the Boy Scouts. And our troop decided to come out to a camp called Camp Shikellamy, which no longer is open. But in Boy Scouts, each troop has a patch on their shoulder that represents the area that they're from. And I walked up to this kid who had this patch with a pagoda on it, and I said, "What's with the Chinese building on your shoulder patch?" And he said, "It's a pagoda. We're from Reading. There's a pagoda on the mountain in Reading." And I said, "Really?" And so that was my first introduction to Reading, other than the Monopoly board. Eventually, years later, I would move here for a job, and I just sort of fell in love with Reading, and I've been here ever since. And if you talk to anybody, they sort of call me the Reading cheerleader, because even though the city has a lot of things that can use improvement, there's so much here that's really great and a lot of assets to work with. So that's a little bit about me, but I also want to introduce someone else who's new to City Hall, although not really. You may recognize Bill Heim's name from a few years back when he was known as Chief Heim. And now he's here as the managing director, and I'll let him speak a little bit about what he's looking forward to and what his job is entailed.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Like you, I've only lived in Reading for about 14 years during my tenure as chief, but I developed a real affinity for the city, which really factored in my decision to come back as managing director. I was a police chief in different municipalities for 42 years, and I actually served 6 different municipalities of all sizes and all types of government. So, I mean, it gave me a really good feel for different forms of government. The manager-council form of government, strong mayor form of government. I even worked for a regional police department that had its own oversight board that I answered for. So it was kind of interesting. And I also did a stint down south in South Carolina. So there was a whole, different type of, not policing, but the culture down south was, kind of fascinating to me, and really enjoyed my tenure there too. So, but my favorite job by far, because it was challenging and rewarding, was being police chief in the city of Reading.
Could you talk a little bit about your education background, because I think that's important?
Yes, well, I have a college degree in English and took minors, and my favorite minor was in sociology. So, you know, working with people and groups of people and living conditions and all those kind of things. And then I decided to get my master's in public administration. And I did that while I was a sitting police chief. And in fact, a lot of the things I did for my topics I did for my thesis came from real world scenarios. So that was really good for me and applicable to the different positions that I found myself working in. You know, I also wound up as a consultant with the Department of Community and Economic Development for Pennsylvania, helping to go into municipalities and mostly focusing on police agencies, but also with how they interacted with all the other types of municipal departments. And got a lot of good experience by going into different towns and different cities and seeing once again how they work and how the police department works. Added to my general knowledge of all the different programs, processes, and ways that different towns did things. And then I also got appointed by the governor to the Oversight Commission on hiring, training, and certifying police officers throughout the state. At the time, there was about 22,000 police officers statewide. And we would travel to different cities and have meetings and you know, meet with various chiefs and elected officials and talk about the issues like that. And along the way, I also got involved with nonprofits on different boards of nonprofits. For instance, in both the city of Lancaster, where I was chief for a while, and in the city of Reading, I was on the board of the Boys and Girls Club. And I've been on the board of mediation centers and Firemen's Fund. So there's a lot of different things that I served on that I really enjoyed too. And you know, I think all of that helped to make me a little bit more well-rounded. And when I decided to hang up the badge, rather than go into retirement mode, I saw that Reading was looking for a managing director. During my time here, I served with probably 6 or 7 managing directors during my 14 years here. Each of them had their own style. Learned how they operate, and you know, like when you have a boss, you're looking at the things that you like about your boss and what you think they do well, and the things maybe that you don't like. And so I got the chance to look at all those different styles and try to adapt the ones I like, and hopefully bring them to this new job, which is fascinating for me.
Good. I know when I spoke before council during the when I was applying, one of the things that I said to them was, I think this is a really exciting time for the city. And in all the years that I've lived here, there's a lot of things that are sort of happening under the radar. The fact that even though it was proposed before, this time it seems like the train service is really moving along, that it really looks like it's going to happen. And I think that's going to make a big change for the city. And also, there's a lot of development that is sort of happening that people may not be aware of, as far as a lot of the what had been commercial spaces being converted to residential, which is going to create a lot more people in the downtown section. And you just sort of feel an energy that hasn't been felt for a long time. Since you've been back, and I know it hasn't been that long, but have you noticed a difference this time from when you were here previously as police chief?
Positively. When I was here before, when you were looking at development in the city and attention to downtown properties, everything seemed to be a bit stalled. I mean, there was plans, there was hopes, there was a lot of discussion, but you know, when I started to get involved again just recently and started to talk to the different department directors and talk to council, seems to be a whole new vibe. I mean, there's already been some really positive changes downtown that I saw that completely different from when I left in 2016. So in that 5-year span, there's a lot of stuff that started to move forward, and a lot more positivity around downtown and around other sites too. Some vacant sites in the city. There's a lot more promise with those being redeveloped. You know, the wastewater treatment plant is moving forward, you know, at a good pace. There's some new programs in the city that council and the mayor started. The mayor's got some innovative programs that I really like with his intern program for city youth. I think is a really positive thing, and actually paying them, you know, to help out the city with projects. So yeah, I'm been back formally. This is my 4th day in my managing director's position, and they say, you know, when you first come to a job that's a little bit complex and trying to absorb everything, you might have heard the term, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You're able to absorb a little bit, but so much of it just goes by, it's a little overwhelming. But I'm a little bit more comfortable because I was here before.
Right.
I was in City Hall, I was around the city, I know the community, so it's kind of like coming home. And I'm anxious to be part of moving the city forward at a much quicker pace than I've seen before.
I know, in addition to some of the things that I mentioned about change in downtown Reading, of course, one of the biggest is right where we are now, and that's College Town and Alvernia, and the fact that BCTV actually relocated. And when I initially asked Bill if he would be a guest on the show, and I said, it'll be at BCTV, and he said, I said, it's downtown, and he said, isn't it out like on 13th Street? And I said, no. I said, it's down in the new College Town building. I said, it's a really great setup. So I actually took a tour of the building and saw this, but this is the first time that I'm seeing it in action. So this is a real plus for downtown Reading. The other thing I wanted to say is that I've always told people when they talk about the city of Reading that it may be one city, but it's really many, many different neighborhoods. And I think that's really important because it's not like one neighborhood is better than another. It's just that they all have a different need and flavor and cater to the people that live there. The one thing that I plan to do as counselor of District 6 is I'm a realtor by trade. That's how I make my living, and I do get all over the city. But that's just to show houses. I want to make a point to get into the neighborhoods in District 6 to really get to know the people and also the businesses that are there. So that's going to be a focus for me to really get into all the neighborhoods in District 6. And I think the city as a whole is great, but there's so many different businesses, restaurants, and shops in District 6. I'm really looking forward to discovering all of them. Bill, as managing director, I mean, I know you're like busy all the time, but are you going to make a point to like get out into the community? I know a lot of people already know you from before, but there's probably a whole new generation of people that, as managing director, probably want to get to see who you are.
I'm sure there is, and I want to do the same thing as you know, citywide too. You know, neighborhood meetings in the evening, I often attended them as police chief. I will do the same thing. I will go out with some of our service people and you know, walk the streets and watch what they do and interact with people because I think that's so important. And yeah, I was known as chief back then, but there's, you know, this city is always changing. People are always moving in. Obviously, our population went up to over 95,000. We're now the 4th largest city in Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of new people that meet and greet. And I also believe, like you do, Chris, that you go to them. You don't necessarily want people to have to go to City Hall to talk to the managing director. I want to go out into the neighborhoods and get a chance to meet people. So that's also on my radar.
I did want to mention too that if anybody needs to contact me or Bill, the city does have a website. All the information as far as to contact us is on the website. And I also wanted to mention two important things that have been introduced by the city that are a big plus to helping to improve our neighborhoods in the city. And I don't know if we can pull up the image. There it is. It's called iRequest, and it's an app that you can pull up on your phone, on your iPhone. And instead of trying to track somebody down to take care of an issue that you feel needs to be addressed, you can go to this app, and if we could go to the next shot, this is what it'll look like with the scene of downtown Reading. And then it'll ask you how you want to proceed, and then the next shot will show you different things that are also available on it, like through the city. And then if you need to report an emergency, there's a lot of information on this app. But if you do have an issue that you feel needs to be addressed, you'll see there are different categories on the app. And you can go through and see if what you're looking for, if it's a burned out street light, if there's a litter issue, if there's yard waste that needs to be picked up. There's several categories that you can pick from. And even if the category that you're looking for isn't on here, there's a section that says Other, where you can put in the specific category that you're looking for. Once you do that, there's a record, and it'll go to the department that needs to take care of that. And then it'll be addressed, and they will notify you via your email when it's been taken care of, so that you'll know that the city received it, it's gone to the proper department, and that it'll be addressed. And this is a really great way of taking care of some of the issues in the city, because obviously the staff in the departments can't be everywhere in every neighborhood and know everything that's going on. The people that live in the neighborhood are right there, and they see it daily. It's part of their lives. And obviously, I can attest to it too. If there's an issue that you feel needs to be addressed and you don't know how to have it taken care of, it can get very frustrating, and nobody wants that. So this app should hopefully be a great way for the citizens and the residents to be able to help the city in making our environment a better place. So do make a point to go on your phones and look for it. Again, it's called iRequest, and it's really easy to use. And the other thing I wanted to mention was a new initiative that was started by the administration called Adopt a Block, which is just starting now, where the people in the neighborhood can adopt their blocks to sort of keep an eye specifically on one area in the city. And again, it's another way for people in the neighborhoods to become the eyes and ears to help the city with dealing with issues and making neighborhoods a better place and improving the quality of life. And Bill, I don't know if you want to talk on that. Anything?
Yeah, you know, the iRequest is, I think it's a really cool thing. Everybody uses app these days, right, to order your coffee or your pizza. I use it to schedule my haircut. So everybody's familiar with apps. Almost everybody has a smartphone. And it's so convenient because you can make an iRequest 24/7. And the requests are managed by our Citizen Service Center. And they even look at it, Chris, to see, you have the drop-down menu for what it is and go to the proper department, but they'll take a look at it sometimes and say, oh, well, we also want to notify this department about this request because it's appropriate for them too. So I thought that was pretty cool. The other thing about iRequest that I just learned is that the city uses it to send out messages. So everybody that's registered under the iRequest, if like trash is going to be delayed a day or a holiday, no pickup changes, or if there's a snow emergency, we can actually push these messages out to all the users of iRequest. So I thought that was pretty cool too. And I found out that last year we got like over 29,000 requests into the city. And that comes out to a lot per day. So it's something that people use, which is great. And like anything else, sometimes there are little glitches that we have to work through with it. But like all apps, sometimes you have to uninstall, install, and the city will help troubleshoot those things. So I thought that's pretty good. The other thing I want to talk about with iRequest is if it's something you need an immediate response on, even something like loud music that's interfering with your quality of life, you can do an iRequest if it's maybe a problem that recurs a lot. But if you want service from like the police department to stop that noise at that time, you have to call, to report that kind of thing. So there is a difference between iRequest, to say there's a pothole here, or there's an issue here, or the trash didn't get picked up, than something you need to report right away.
That's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought up about the fact that iRequest works the opposite way of contacting the people who are connected with it, because I did know that but forgot. And also the point of if you need immediate attention on something. I think as residents of the city of Reading, if we all work together, we can make an amazing city. It's a great place. I know some people tend to put it down, but there's so much here to work with. And again, I remember when I first came here, I came in on North Fifth Street and looked at all the architecture. I actually got lost. And I stopped at the Abraham Lincoln finally to ask directions when it was still a hotel, trying to find where I was going to. But I just remember coming in on Fifth Street and then coming downtown and thinking, this town, compared to a lot of other towns that saw a lot of urban renewal and demolition during the 1970s, there's still a lot here, and it's some amazing architecture and buildings to work with. I think sometimes it's taken for granted, but it really is a beautiful city. There may be sections that need some help and support, but overall, I just, even to this day, I still think it's a great place, even though there may be some things to work on. So, Bill, we're going to wind up. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we?
No, I'm just really glad to be back. I agree with you. There's so much beauty in this city, in the architecture. My first house in Reading, I was just amazed at the woodworking inside the house and the wainscoting, and you don't find that in modern construction. And it was certainly built to last. So there's many, many more positives, I believe, in this city than things we have to overcome, which I think we will.
I think you're right. And also, the location is something that I've always appreciated too, the fact that even though we're in an urban environment downtown, we're so close to go out into the countryside. It's like 10 minutes, and there's farmlands and Blue Marsh, and even closer than that is Mount Penn, and the pagoda, that building that I saw on the Boy Scouts patch, which is also a great asset too. I think the last thing that I'd like to talk about is You know, as a new council person, I do want to make a point to say that I'll be available to anybody who needs to get in contact with me. And again, you can go on the city website, and my contact information is there. And if there's anything that you feel that needs to be addressed or you need help with, I will be there and try to do whatever I can. It's pretty amazing. As soon as I was appointed, the emails and the phone calls came, and that's okay. And I said to somebody, you know, as a realtor, we tend to work at putting out fires to make sure we get to settlement. And I said, I sort of feel the same way now when people call me. They have issues that they're not sure how they can have them addressed. And it's like, let me see what I can do. I'll see if I can connect the dots to find answers for you. So, you know, as a counselor, that's one of my jobs. I understand that I'm sort of on call, and I just want to make sure that people understand that I am available. You don't have to worry if you call me. If I can't take your call right away, I'll return it as soon as I can. You can email me, and you know, we'll try and take care of whatever the issue is that you're dealing with. And Bill, if you want to say anything as far as your position.
Yeah, it's the same for me. And you know, Chris, with platforms like Zoom, where you can sit in your home or use even your smartphone and get in on city meetings and listen to what's going on, citizens can keep really well informed from the comfort of their home. And it may bring up some questions and things that they want to contact us to talk about specifically. So that'd be great.
That's a good point. The whole concept of the council meetings and the committee meetings and like the zoning hearing board, it's all available to see what the process is. And that brings me to one last thing that I really feel is important too. Getting involved with your city, I think, is a really good idea. It helps to understand how the city works. And one of the best ways to do that is if you would like to volunteer on one of the committees or the boards. And there's so many that depending on what your interests are, there's probably a good fit. It's a great way for somebody to give a little bit of their time to help their city and also understand the process of how city government works. And I remember when I was, I think I was in my 30s, I got involved on the Architectural Review Board, and I was on for about 18 years. It really was a learning experience of learning the process of what's involved with that part of the city. But there are others too, like zoning and the Shade Tree Commission. There's many, and you can find them on the website. But I do think, you know, if you want to help make a difference in making the city a better place, that's a great way to do it. So I just wanted to make that point before we had to end the show. I want to thank Bill for agreeing to be my guest. As he said, he had just started, and he happened to be sitting next to me at City Council, and I leaned over to him and I said, how about you be my guest on BCTV? I said, we can be the new kids on the block. Yes. So, you know, as of right now, we're the newest kids, but I'm sure there'll be others that come along after us. But I did want to thank Bill. Thank you for being on the show and answering the questions. And thank the people for watching. And again, you know, if you need to contact me, do feel free. I'll be happy to do whatever I can to make the city of Reading a better place for all of us. And I think that's it. Bill, do you have anything to say?
No, sir. I look forward to working with you in our new roles.
Okay. I think it'll be good. And I think that's it. We've sort of covered everything. Yep. Until the next time, in your district. Again, my name is Chris Miller, Counselor for District 6, and have a good evening.